What's up?
Not much. I'm watching you from afar. Everybody's joining us right now.
Oh yeah?
Yes.
When you say everybody,
All the peoples,
from all the worlds?
I assume. But saying hi.
Oh, hello.
Oops, sorry.
What are you doing?
I was making so they could see what
Oh,
you're
okay.
doing. So no live feed next week because we're at LuxCon.
Hey, LuxCon.
Yes.
We could pop on. Well, it'd be late. It'd be after this. Well, actually, if we're on at the showcase,
Then
we
it's
could come on
right
for a
on
few
time.
minutes. You know, we might come on for just a few minutes and say hi or something.
Yes.
So,
What's everybody been up to this week?
I've been doing this.
I know what you've been doing. Pencils for other things and
I did.
that guy.
I did some sketches for our magic card stuff.
Are you allowed to tell people you're working on magic cards? I guess so.
Yeah, I just can't show them what I'm working on.
The Cume sharpener. You just put your pencil shavings on all over my feet.
Well, you're standing in the way of the trash can.
Well, you can't be close. They can't see what you're doing. I'm not close. My glasses are so dirty. And then
I'm just picking my way through these.
pieces that are going to be at LuxCon, huh?
Well, I'm not specifically doing it for LuxCon. I'm just doing it, but yeah, it'll probably be there.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Everybody's waiting.
Oh, hello,
They're all waiting.
hello, people of the world, people outside my house.
Farmer Spliff.
Who?
Farmer Spliff.
Farmer Spliff.
Yes. And Bitterfists.
Somebody commented earlier today. I think their name was Angry Pickle or something like that.
Angry Pickle.
Yeah.
Hey, there's Jake Peck.
Jake. Hey, Jake.
Did you see Jake's pieces in
Yes.
Philadelphia?
Yes, I did. If anybody hasn't seen it, look up Jake Peck on Instagram. He's got some great work.
Jake Peck art.
Jake Peck art. Yeah.
Yes. And he has some pieces in a show.
Yep.
And Joe Beth from Arizona said hello.
Hello, Joe Beth. It's like I want to do that thing that they did in the stand. Hello, Arizona. You know, you named him. Hey, East Texas. What was his name? She called him East Texas. Mother Abigail. From the stand.
The stand.
But I also want to, use people's names too, because.
Well, we know Jake's name because it's in his. But you don't know Dysmorphico's name, so
Well, yeah, but
that's okay.
But that's a cool title, though, Dysmorphico, right?
Yes.
I don't know what it means, but it's cool.
Very cool.
So it's the whole challenge with drawing something like feathers, and I only am mildly or am moderately successful at it, is the chaos that they actually fall into when you're looking at real feathers. Because I have a photo here, you can see. This is my photo that I have. I use this as reference a lot when I'm looking at feathers, because a lot of times you see people lay them out. They're perfect and pristine and stuff, but I've never seen one in real life. A wing that is perfectly splayed out and that everything is uniform.
Right.
So, I'm not trying to go, photorealistically with it, but I think it informs and adds to it when you bring in some of that chaos.
Yeah, yes.
Hannah
Davis says that she's missed seeing your works.
Oh, Hannah. Well, thank you.
And Jake, we'll see Jake up at LuxCon.
Yeah, he's going to be up there next week.
Just can't wait to see you guys.
Yeah. We might, like I was saying this earlier, we might pop on and say hi to everybody Saturday night while we're up there but if we do, it'll just be a a short, kind of a thing, likely. It should be fun. We're doing the showcase this year. We just didn't want to go up for. It's otherwise it lasts about 5 or 6. What is it? 5 days.
5 days.
And I just it's hard for me to get out of the studio for a weekend.
Yes.
So 5 days is, for me, is a little long. But there's a lot of cool artwork in the 5-day show, in the Salon show as well.
Oh yeah, it's fun. And we'll be up so we can see everybody in the big show.
Yeah.
Blake says
It's the best, huh?
Blake says, I am appalled by how simple this has become for you. I'm not sure if he's talking about the drawings or talking to people.
Oh, well, it's like that, that thing they talk about when you look at ducks that are swimming. It looks very calm and simple on the surface, but underneath they're like
He's flailing.
furiously trying to keep themselves above the water. That's kind of how it feels a lot, especially when I'm doing stuff that involves, like, you have to have enough chaos that it doesn't look like there's a pattern, or at least not like a man-made pattern. So, I mean, and specifically with the drawing, with the talking with people, that's always a struggle with for anybody who's introverted, and I tend to be introverted, but
it's true.
Have gotten better at it.
Yes.
For brief periods of time.
Thank you, Hannah. She said she wished us the best and hope
thanks.
we enjoy the show.
Thank you. It's always a fun show every time I've been there. We get to see a lot of friends and hang out, and collectors show up.
Art of Matt wants you to talk about the lead holder for a second.
The lead.
The one in your hand.
This? Oh, this is a pencil extender.
Keep moving.
Well, it's Alvin. These are really cheap. You can get them on Jet. You can get these probably on eBay or JetPens or anywhere. Even Amazon will have them too. They're usually about $5 for a pack, $5 or $6 for a pack of 3 of them. And the reason I like them best is because they're threaded, so they screw on really tight, so that when you sharpen the pencil, it doesn't spin. It doesn't spin in the. Because otherwise, when it gets tight in the sharpener, it'll spin in the holder. But these are so tight that they don't really do that.
Eventually, did they loosen up?
I've not had one loosen up. I've had them start to bend, and I've had them get to a point where I've tightened them down so tight that I can't untighten them, and they just fall apart. But if I use it a lot, strangely, I don't know why, because I don't bear down that hard, but I must grip it really hard because they'll start to bow. They'll start to bend at different times.
Oh my gosh, that's too funny.
And I tend to actually have to buy new ones every so often because of that. But I use this kind, and I use another one that's more of a, if I have one around. I have a push button one too that it works pretty well.
The art of asked, he said, it's asking me, did we get around to finding the name of the model of the flexible clip-on desk holder for this one? Where did you get that?
I'd have to.
We're gonna have to look.
Yeah, I know
I
we
didn't.
said it.
I
last
forgot.
Time, I forgot to look the last time, but I got it. I'm pretty sure I got it straight up through Amazon.
It wasn't on our Amazon thing.
It wasn't?
It's not on our Amazon.
Oh, well.
I'll look into it.
That one tends to be the, kind of one of the more functional ones.
Oh, wait, it's a Cassine. Here we go. Look.
What?
It says something. You can't see it. It's Casseen. Ta-da!
Well, that was easy
I
enough.
never. At least you can look it up.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't think you got it from Amazon, though.
Maybe not. I don't know.
He doesn't believe me. The brand of the pencil extender, the pencil extender.
This Alvin.
Alvin, A-L-V-I.
Alvin makes them. There's probably some generic ones you can find too. I think, like I said, if you have access to JetPens and just go under pencil extenders, I'm sure this is one of the ones that pop up, and they usually come in.
They're aluminum, so they're really, really light.
Yeah, they're light and inexpensive. And what is it? There's Derwent makes a pair of 2. One is black and the other one is silver, but the silver one's a little bit bigger for fatter pencils. Those are a little bit more expensive, but those are nice enough too. These usually come in a pack where they're either, I think it's it's blue, pink, and silver.
Oh yeah,
the 3 different kinds that come in that setup. But
that's so he can. Do you have any of your tiny little pencils?
what do you mean?
once you get them, when they get down to little nubbies, that you still stick them in there.
Oh, yeah.
So he can use his pencil to 90% of his pencil.
Yeah. As you go down about right there.
But those won't fit in the extender anymore, right? Or will it? No?
No, not really. You have to sharpen them with a smaller pencil sharpener, and you can actually sharpen it all the way down to the gold ring. If you use those the smaller pencil sharpeners that actually make a more tapered point. They're the ones that, they're like I don't have one out right now, but the Alvin pencil sharpeners or the other. Well, they're just tapered. They're more tapered points. They're the ones you more easily find. They're metal ones too that will do it. But I have probably hundreds of these things somewhere in different
It's
places.
true.
I don't really ever throw them away.
No, they just collect. The name of the place where he gets a lot of his things is jetpens.com.
Yeah, I get most of my pencil stuff. So this is just using a piece of paper as an impromptu pencil shield. So I can get rid of an edge I don't like.
These are not charcoal pens, they're just pencils.
These are, right now, 90% of this piece has been done with like a 6B Tombow Mono 100. They're very dark. They have a nice black binder, one of the darkest binders in a pencil that you can get. But it's not as black as charcoal. But then again, it has, it erases differently than charcoal does. From the little bit that I've used charcoal, I've never really, people asked this before, but I've never really gotten a feel for charcoal like I have graphite. And it's a subtle thing. I feel like if I were to just let myself play with them for a while, I would forget to notice that it would be charcoal. Because, I mean, it's essentially it's still black and white and a dry media. So.
Yeah. Ethereal Geometry asked can you remind us the type of spray or fixative you use, something about acrylic?
Oh, when I want
paper.
Okay, so on a piece of paper like this especially, because if you were to press down pretty hard, you get a shine from the side. What I would do is, usually I would spray fix it with just a normal workable fixative first, and then I would use, through an airbrush, I would use ultra matte medium, what is it? Just an acrylic ultra matte medium. Liquitex is the brand that I use. But I thin it, it's roughly like 20 or 30% water, so it'll run through an airbrush.
Right.
And then I go over it lightly, and it just kills the gloss, and it gives it a real velvety look. And then you can work back into that with something like a Nero black.
The Nero Cretacolor blacks,
yeah. Because the Nero blacks tend to be matte. The pencil, they tend to be matte because they're more of I think they're an oil-based pencil, and so the dark that comes out of them is very, very dark. But you have to, like I said, you have to get used to any of that and experiment with it.
Right, and if they don't have an airbrush and everything,
if you don't have an airbrush, if you don't have an airbrush, then you spray it with workable fixative, and then you lightly brush it on with a brush. But you do have to thin it with. You have to test this first on something else, but you do have to thin it with water so that you don't get brush streaks in it at the end. And even so, you might get a little bit of a brush streak in the piece. But generally speaking, I think when it's happened to me, I've liked that look because it definitely has gives a textural quality to it a little bit. But it's very light and you can almost not see it, but it still kills the gloss. You do have to thin it with water to do that, though. And you do have to spray the piece, because if I've done it before where I've just brushed matte medium on top of it, and no matter how light it is, no matter how light I brush it on, if I go over it more than once, and I almost always have to go over it more than once, it'll move the graphite around some, so you'll get like graphite paint strokes kind of on your piece, and then you're either going to have to work back into it a lot, or just accept it. And when you brush it on, it goes on thicker, so there's more of a tendency to warp the paper. So you should probably be working on a thicker, like a Bristol board or an Illo board.
Now, can't we just spray it with workable fixative and put it under glass, though?
Yeah. I mean, it's not going to do. I mean, it will kill the matte workable fixative will kill some of the gloss. but that's what people traditionally do use to fix a drawing, is the straight up workable fixative. It's hard for me to even show you a piece that is sprayed with matte medium to show you what difference it looks like, because it only shows up in reality in person. When you look at the piece in reality,
you can't see it really on film.
it's a significant difference when you're standing in front of it. But when you look at it next to a regular, like a graphite drawing, it just looks like a difference in value.
So next weekend we're going to be at the showcase in Reading at LuxCon, the showcase. Friday night and Saturday night in Reading, PA. So
if you're there, stop by.
yes. What's your electric eraser?
The one that I use is a Sakura. And these have been around for a while. They used to have a hole for a plug-in, so you could actually plug it into the wall. We had one, and then it died. And now those are really expensive if you buy them, like, if you can find them. I mean, those as an antique collectible pencil, it's like eraser, are around $500 or $600.
Hey, Amy Baker Art.
Hey,
See
Amy.
her soon.
Yeah.
Too.
So, but this is still one of the most powerful ones you can buy. Any of them will work, but these are really super, like, they have the best little engine in them for erasing. And they usually, it's 2 AAA batteries.
I think it's probably been around for a good 10 years.
Well, yeah, and I have 2 of them.
Yep.
I have 2 of them.
Of course you do. There's the other one right there.
Yeah, it's right there, because I typically will forget to put batteries in one of them, and we'll have it go out at the wrong time, so I usually keep 2 of them charged at different, with batteries in them that are, have different power levels, I guess you could say. So.
Someone said, in particular, this is Ethereal Geometry again, the stuff that you spray on to darken everything.
The matte medium, most of the fixative stuff will darken things a little. Mm-hmm. And matte medium will definitely, when it kills the gloss, definitely darkens the values a bit. It makes it, because what you see when you look at normal graphite is the graphite plus the reflection of the light on the top, right? That's bound, the little bit of gloss that's on the sheen on it. And if you remove that sheen, it automatically goes darker. So you have to be prepared for that, because it kind of gets a little bit shocking, because it makes you feel like your values are out of place. And because when you just spray fix it, it does that. When you put the matte medium on it, it kills the gloss, but there's that slight layer of acrylic on top, so it actually makes the values change. Sometimes they get a little lighter. Mm-hmm. And again, I think it might have something to do with humidity. I've done it before where it's gotten cloudy. And I've had to work back on top of that until it, with a different kind of like a colored pencil, until I fixed it, until I resolved the cloudy issue.
I remember those.
Yeah.
Those are always those. What inspires you to make all those abstract details?
A lot of times I'm just kind of following organic shapes in my head. Obviously, when I started this, it was funny because I drew this little head shape, and it looked like kind of a kneeling or kind of a penitent kind of figure. And so I drew these little sketches up here. I don't know if you can see these or not, mm-hmm. but it's like the little a kneeling creature with these kind of wings. And this would be like what it would look like from the front. And as I did this, I started thinking about, whether or not I was going to erase these. And I was like, well, this is kind of the thing I'm doing for myself. So I don't, technically, if I don't want to, I started having this discussion in my head about why I don't always have to use every compositional tool in a piece. Like, if I want to do it this way, I can make the piece more of I don't know how to say it, a narrative about the process, rather than just doing it a narrative about the piece itself. Like, if I just wanted it to be about this character, I would compose the whole piece. But I kind of want it to be about more than that. So I might just draw these figures up here too. And to be honest, it's my personal work. I don't really have to explain why they're up there. I can just put them up there if I want them there. It's that artistic license we talk about.
Hannah is asking, do you use different eraser types in the electric Sakura? I
only have used the white ones, the little white erasers, because the gray ones, they're more they're for ink, is what it says.
Oh.
And in the past, when I've used some of the gray ones, it's left a residue on the paper.
Oh.
They may be better now. I don't know. And I haven't tried the abrasive erasers on Clayboard, not the gray ones. So I might be worth getting some of the gray ones just to try it on that. But
Do you, what kind of paper is he on? Is that just the
this
regular
is
Strathmore?
straight up Strathmore, yeah. I've been working on that a lot lately because just because I've been really into the tooth of the paper. And it's an inexpensive paper, relatively speaking, compared to some of the sketchbooks I have. And if I'm more apt to experiment on paper that I don't feel like I can ruin, so that's I've been playing with that a lot. I get into phases where I'll go through different types of sketchbooks that I'm into more than the other.
Right.
And different things I want to focus on.
Do you ever see your drawings in your dreams?
I don't really. I tend to have a lot of daydreams, which it made me start wondering whether or not you would call those. If this were a different time that I lived in, I would call them visions, but they're mostly daydreams. I don't dream. I dream about normal stuff. Actually, weird, like more weird things that are just like everyday things. Like I had this thing that if you ever watched Kung Fu Panda, they had a thing called the noodle dream, where the panda was supposed to have dreamt about his destiny as a noodle maker. So I have these things I call noodle dreams, and it's always like I do dream about working, but not about pieces. I'll dream about doing concept art for a movie or something like that, or working on a painting, but not about what I'm painting. Just working on it, and I never can remember a specific thing about them. And I always wake up and say, well, I had another noodle dream, so I guess I should start working on something.
Yes.
So.
I like those folds in the tummy area.
Oh, these?
Yeah.
They look intestinal.
They do.
But it just sort of started happening, and I was like, oh, I'll let it.
Do you use any more questions? I am reading out questions here for people later on when they watch this. Do you use any reference to achieve your vision, or is this totally out of your imagination?
It usually starts with my imagination, and then as I get into a piece of it, I might find or research and do some reference, hunting for it. Like this is what I look at a lot for wing patterns. I've actually had this photo printed out for a long time because I play with this kind of a wing pattern a lot. Mm-hmm. Here, I'll show you another one.
Just don't roll over my toes.
Oh. Like this. And this one didn't use this photo for it, but it still has an even different kind of a pattern going on.
Very nice there.
So
the dog opened the door, so now we can hear Doctor Who in the background.
Do you want to go close it again? Or do you care?
Melinda said that she took your advice since last month to work on drawings every day, and now she's doing great again.
Oh, good.
Yeah, now I have many projects to work on for clients, and thank you for your inspiration so I can continue mine.
Oh, well, I'm really glad it worked out. That's the key is just even when you're in the process of doing something for somebody else and you can't do everything for yourself, is just to do a little bit for yourself every day. I think it helps. Feed your spirit a little bit,
Oh, Barbara asked, other people are asking about your music playlist. Yes, I have said I was going to write down your playlist before.
Well, it's very
eclectic
and wide. I have music soundtracks on there. I have some contemporary stuff, and I listen to a lot of industrial stuff, and I like electronic music quite a bit. I say electronic. There's a lot of dubstep and glitch and things like that I like to listen to. That's just kind of.
And then if I go into his workout thing, and sometimes because you'll share your playlist with me.
Yeah.
And in one of his workout things, in the middle of the playlist, there's what is it? Mongolian throat.
Oh, no, it's Tuvan throat singing. Yeah.
Throat singing,
yeah.
And I was like, "What the hell is this?
It's
for a workout?"
Yeah, well, it's just I had a whole playlist of white noise for a while. I was just listening to static because it was kind of soothing. I'm one of those people, but.
Okay, I should get back to the other question. All right, hold on. I'm backing up, guys.
Do you see what I put my?
How long does a standard drawing take you?
This standard is it's all dependent on size and
And
intensity.
he's like working on this guy that he's going to finish, and
Yeah.
this one, and he finished 2 other ones that we're taking with us.
So they can go anywhere from a day to I usually don't spend less than a day on something, but usually unless I'm doing concept work, in which case it's more line drawings. But for myself, I'll usually spend a day on something because I'll just fall into it and go with it. Anywhere from a day to like this has probably got it like linear time about 2.5 days in it, maybe 2.5. But that's that's an artist. My artist hours are like 2 hour, like an hour on, 15 minutes off. So it's anywhere from 6 to 12 hours a day, depending on how intense it is.
That is true.
Sometimes
you'll walk by and I don't think he's actually left that chair.
Well, there are times when I don't move because I'll throw on like an audiobook and I'll forget to do anything else but work.
Now, see, Sprite Hansen said, I can't believe I'm going to see you both at IX. And you know what? You'll have to remind us of your screen name.
Yep.
So we'll know it's you.
Yeah, come up to us and tell us, that, your screen name. So that's the most, it's so much fun to be at a show. And people will pop in and say, hey, I know you on Instagram. That's where I met you or whatever. And we love that. So.
Yes. Someone was asking about any tips for precision. Hannah said patience and breathing.
That's actually the patience is probably the biggest part.
Right. Being able to be in your head.
Being able to look at the head of a pencil for 8 hours a day is not an easy feat for most people. And I just got to a point where I said, if I need to be obsessive, if I have any degree of OCD in me, I'm going to let it be about the work that I do. So I can literally sit here and pick at things and I could probably work on a single piece for a year if I was left and not, and I didn't have any other ideas. I won't say that not have any other ideas. If I were just, I could pick at things,
He would pick at them,
forever.
For a long, long, long time.
So I just got used to letting myself do that. And part of that was just being a little bit counter to popular,
speeding up.
Yeah, because there's a lot of things in the world that you have to do at a speed, and I just kind of determine when I'm doing my own work that I'll do it at whatever speed it wants to go at, and what and I actually love spending time doing the work. I've had conversations with artists where they like, I can't stand spending this amount of time on something. I want to do it and then move on to the next thing. And there's definitely ways for you to do that. But it's like anything else. When you make one decision to do something one way, you make concessions and sacrifices to do it that way.
Right.
So you either but you get if you get what you need out of it, you do it the way you like to do it. Yes. If you like working fast, and work fast. But I like spending time with things. I actually make better decisions slowly.
Right.
That being said, go ahead.
Non-art question.
Yeah.
What's your favorite unhealthy food that you regret afterwards?
Oh, what is it? Those cheddar cheese chips things that I eat?
Lay's sour cream and cheddar
sour
cheese.
cream and cheddar chips.
chips.
And those ice creams that you start to get that have
Oh,
18 grams of saturated fat.
Oh, God, that's right. I got to stop buying those too. The Blue Bunnies.
The Blue Bunny ice creams that you get. They're like this big, and one of them is equal to a full week's worth of saturated fat or whatever. It's so.
All right, Daniel's asked twice, what anatomy books would you recommend?
Actually, I would say the best thing for anatomy is the books will break down anatomy into like names and areas and things like that. And I don't know that I have a specific. I might have some specific anatomy books, but most of them that are depicting real anatomy. When you we'll start with photography and then drawing. I typically like to look at real anatomy rather than anatomy other people have already drawn, because that's one degree of distortion away from what's really there to begin with.
So you like to look at a photo.
So I would look at photography a lot first, and just study anatomy through that at first. To be quite honest, I looked at a lot of, when I was younger, all I had access to were like things like Playboy and things like that.
Right.
And before, because I didn't have figure models when I grew up and didn't even know such a thing was a thing. So I looked at human reference through that. Nowadays, you can find any kind of anatomy reference online you want. Pinterest has literally tens of thousands of boards that you can study for anatomy.
Yes.
and without having to spend a penny on it. You know, my best advice for that is to look at real anatomy first before you want to distort it, and study what's going on in a real person.
Because if you're looking at comic art, then you're going to emulate the people that we are always going to emulate what you're looking at.
The one that people like to refer to a lot is the Byrne Hogarth, Dynamic Anatomy book, which is great. I always looked at it though, and it automatically looks like comic anatomy to me. It's very useful for learning things, but I personally wouldn't start there if I were going to start over. I actually learned mostly drawing from emulating comic books, and had to get away from that to start learning real anatomy before I could start distorting it in a way that would...
That's true, yeah, because you're very, very early work from the late 80s and early 90s.
It was more comic book line,
Pardon me, the dog opened the door, so all we are hearing is Dr. Who. There we go.
And I love comic book stuff and distorted and stylized.
Yeah, but it's not what you do.
But I wouldn't start with stylized. Yeah, I would look at realistic anatomy first, and if you don't have access to going to
figure drawing?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Figure drawing.
We're
believe it or not,
simpatico. 8 o'clock.
Yeah, figure drawing is, believe it or not something that I've done a lot of. But what I have done, the value that it had for me was not in memorizing anatomy, but in learning how to observe anatomy. To me, it doesn't matter to me what any of the bones are called. I guess that is good if you're a teacher and you need to clarify what you're looking at.
Right.
But the value of figure drawing to me is that it makes you sit in a spot and stare at a body, and learn how to really see what you're looking at, without making assumptions about it. Most of the time, if you make up a figure, you're basically drawing something that you already know, what you know should be there, which is I think the basis for actually stylization to begin with. Is when people started making up figures, they would tend to make up the same kinds of figures, which is stylistically why you have artists that will draw a certain way, I guess. But to me, if you've never memorized any bone of the human body but have great observation skills, you can look at it and see what's happening. And as long as you can step outside of your own your assumptions that are overriding sometimes what you're looking at, it teaches you to really see what you're seeing. And that to me is the best benefit of figure drawing.
Oh, very cool.
Of what I've done of it anyway.
Very cool. We might have lost the chat again.
Oh, is it?
But you know that we're still going.
Okay. If
that's okay.
The chat feed isn't moving for us right now.
So if you guys are asking questions, we can't see them. But we'll still keep going. Oh, you know what? So next week we'll come from IX. We'll do a little live feed from IX, a quick one. And our website is Alan Williams Studio. And our YouTube channel is also Alan Williams Studio. And these go up on YouTube after they go up on Patreon, which is at patreon.com/Alan Williams.
All right. Are we back?
I don't think so. We'll see. If anyone else comes on.
All right. Hopefully that resolved the issue. If you could, or if you couldn't hear us before, our feed stopped on our device. Yeah. So we couldn't get any of the questions or any of the communication.
Yeah. We didn't have any chat.
This is as counterintuitive as it may be. It's pointless to do a live feed thing like this and not have the interaction to me.
Yeah. They're all back.
Oh, good. So we saved the other half.
See us? Yes, we can see you.
Oh, good.
We can see you now.
Could you still hear us as we were saying we were going to stop the last feed?
Yes, I think they could.
Good. So.
Hey, Jake.
So, that happened to us, was it last week?
No, it was like 2 weekends ago, and then everyone was...
And my friend Daryl said, we could still hear you. And I was like, hopefully he didn't say anything embarrassing after we shut it off. So.
Yes, and we can see your chat again, you guys. I don't think it's my phone. I think it just is...
It's probably just a glitch in the system.
Yeah.
A ghost in the shell.
Oh. All right, Hannah. Hannah's taken off.
Hannah?
Yes. We will see you again. Can you do one of these while drunk? He doesn't really drink.
But in the past I've done it. I mean, I don't drink now. I used to drink a lot more.
You have a great night too. Everybody that has to be.
I don't know that I drink enough that I can't do most of what I normally do when I'm drunk. I have, on occasion. I don't really want to go any further into that.
You don't drink anymore.
That's true. Not much.
How do you decide on the blending and the texture of the aliens?
I guess it comes down to because whatever patterns look good to me, or textures look good at whatever scale as I'm going through it, because this is all about hierarchy and like establishing a kind of a visual rhythm in the piece. I like things. I personally like those old etchings like Dürer and Doré and all those that where there's just like a little bit of something going on everywhere because of the lines and the texture of the etching that they do. And that's some of what I like to try to bring into the pieces that I do. But it is definitely, it's sort of like composition in a microcosm, I think, because I look at an area that's, I always have like busy areas that balance against areas of smoothness and, and light that balances against shadow. There's always contrast and transitions. To make a piece glow, you would do the entire thing, and then have obviously you would control your white point so that the highest point would be where you wanted the light to glow the most, and that would be the only point in the piece that might have the brightest white, and then everything else would would actually have graphite on top, whether it's very light or not.
This is very disturbing, that part right
Oh, this?
It's creepy.
Yeah. Well, it sort of looks intestinal, just kind of like this does, or like brain. It looks like the reticulation in brains to me.
It's a deep thinker.
Kind of. I actually keep seeing this piece as I also keep seeing a skull in here, but not. I don't want to do a real skull like an actual traditional skull in there, because I do a lot of skulls or skull shapes too.
What's going on with those hands right there?
Right now, it's just sort of sitting there like this. Right? It's kind of like if you saw this from the other side, it would look kind of like that, I guess. But I keep seeing him like he's kneeling there reading a book. Like there's a book laid out, like he's very close, almost like nearsighted, and he's reading something. It's also a penitent pose, the prostrate kind of a prayer type pose, So I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that this could be. This is actually part of This is the sketch that I started with, believe it or not, which is a horizontal figure and standing in this prostrate pose on his hands and knees like this, bowed to a woman reading a book, and he's very large and imposing, but it's a very calm scene.
I wonder what he's reading then.
I know that I haven't gotten to yet.
I haven't thought about it.
No, but I just always like that moment that isn't monstrous when you look at creatures and things where they become more of a character, and you have to think of them less of a monster and more of a thing, more of a person, more of a persona, or some sort of a being. That moment, I do a lot of creatures that look like they're more introspective, and some that look like they're not thinking at all. This kind of started off, and I thought of this kind of weird prototypical, this. I don't know if you can tell or not, but if you get close enough, he actually has kind of vampire teeth, and I thought of him as sort of like this primal, vampire that has been alive forever and no longer really feeds on anything. It's just sort of this thing that kind of observes humanity from afar, and it's so good at that whole moving amongst humankind that it could stand in the middle of a city and nobody would ever see it, except for maybe one or two people, and they would never be believed. But it doesn't really do anything but watch anymore, because it went past the idea of feeding on living things to a point where it just sort of draws energy from everything all the time. Not in a way that destroys it, but just in kind of a universal way. Even though it looks creepy and evil, in the story that I have that accompanies this is actually something that in the end protects humanity. So because it's come to it evolved past what it was.
Look at the fingers.
And it doesn't really move. It's sort of like this, almost a statue. Kind of, I guess it would be kind of like those the king and the queen from the Lestat things. Remember when they were like the statues that never moved and just kind of...
Yeah, you're reaching back into my memory.
Yeah.
It's been a while. I like this tiny writing over there.
Oh, It's
Look at
just
this itty bitty
stuff that I
tiny writing over there.
stuff that I think of to myself that I write.
He's trying, I make fun of him because he gets these
I do that
beige colored Post-it notes, and the reason you have bright green Post-it notes is so you don't lose them.
I know, but I like beige because then you can they're just like the toned paper, and you could actually do a little drawing on them if you want to sketch. And if I sketched on this, I couldn't go that far with it because it's so tiny. Although
First it was lined paper, and now you're going for the.
Well, see, look, that's bare minimum. I mean, you can't even tell what that is. It looks like I
Totally,
sneezed. I sneezed.
I know what that is. I know what that is. Look, creature head right here, curled around.
Yeah.
Person right there.
Yeah.
Something's going on.
See?
I think the hand's right there.
She reads my shorthand.
I do read your shorthand. Let's see. We are looking for another Comic-Con setup. What is ours like? Shoot me an email
For Comic-Con?
for convention setups and everything. We have
Because we got the show.
we have
the Pro Panels.
I have the Pro Panels, and I also have a Flourish I bought this year.
Yeah, which is the tent stand.
There is there's a really good. You can also look on One Fantastic Week on Facebook. They have a Facebook group, and there is a whole convention thread where people will show their setups. And ours looks a little different than other people's because we like to have ours open so people can come in the booth.
We used to do the thing where you would sit up and have like a wall of like a table of prints and things in front of you. But I always found it better when people could walk in and talk and like there'd be nothing really between us as we were.
Yes, but you can see a whole lot of them on the convention thread on One Fantastic Week's Facebook page. There's everybody's.
Plus, we don't do a whole lot of different kinds of products that you would need a
That is true.
huge table for. I pretty much just do prints and originals and occasionally something else.
No, we do originals and prints. Yeah, sketchbooks. What is the drawing for? The drawings. These are just yours.
This is just something for myself. Most of the time I have a vague narrative that starts things out that will define and change as it goes along. And I've been doing a lot of winged characters here in the last few days, but I go through cycles where I'll do that for a while and then other things.
Yes. Curly Locks. What is the comic name or story name? Story name. It sounded so cool. Write your question again, because what were we talking about? I can't remember.
What the comic name?
I know it was because I have to go back up because I miss people's questions because sometimes a whole bunch of them shoot by me and everything. So if I miss your question, it's not on purpose. The drawing is not for anything in particular. These are just for his own personal pieces.
The ones that I've just shown you, those are just stuff that I do for myself.
And for this guy, he was just for yourself. You were talking about the Anne Rice books.
But, the Anne Rice.
But it's not for that or anything like that.
No.
It's just reminiscent for it.
Mm-hmm. Well, just the narrative that I have behind the piece, that this is a stoic character that almost never moves, that he just stands in the middle of a city and nobody ever sees it because of what he is. That reminded me of the Vampire King and Queen from the Interview with the Vampire Lestat, or whichever one it was, where the Queen of the Damned, I think it was called. Because they were statues almost until they reawoken, and then they would move, but they just existed as almost a statuary.
Right.
That's what it reminded me of.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So. Although I do kind of tend to like the older school, the very old legends about vampires and stuff, where they tend to be
What were you watching? What was your thing you were watching this week?
Recently?
Yeah.
Oh, the series that The Haunting of Hill House, which is a slow burn movie. It starts off, the series starts off pretty low key, and it gradually accelerates, and it gets. I think it gets really good. It's one of the better ones that I've watched lately on Netflix. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's not. I don't really like it because of like super great creature design, because you're basically talking there's some beautiful ghosts in it, though. I mean, a couple that I really, really dig, so there's that as well. But I didn't really, that's not the reason I like it so much. The story to me is just It's just a great ghost story, and it does some things that that I haven't seen in a ghost story, and it seemed like a great tribute to the old Haunting of Hill House in terms of making it contemporary.
Yeah. All right, someone asked if you have used a light box for any of this or anything.
Not for this one, but I do use light boxes quite a bit because I'll do a sketch like this and then want to refine it, and I'll throw
Put it on a bigger piece of paper.
Or put it on a bigger piece of paper. So I'll scan it in and print it out larger, and then use a light box to transfer all the lines and stuff. And I have the Design Avocado light pad that they sent me that works really well for that, and it's like an A4 size. And then I have the Huion one that's a little bit bigger that's also really good.
Is your thought process organic while applying the detail, a bit like an undefined landscape that has room for interpreted details?
Yeah, it's actually it's quite a bit like I kind of, if you want to reduce it to its simplest terms, it's like when you were a kid and you would do all those squiggly lines and then make something out of it. That's kind of how I do a lot of this, because I'll start off and I'll just draw detail, not even detail that like I might, like for this
you keep
down here.
Around.
I know, because I'm trying to show you. So like for this area here,
yes,
I would do something like
it's moving me
like
now.
I might just do a bunch of lines that look like this, and then start picking out like patterns within these lines that start to look like what I want it to, and then because that way I can get a real chaotic kind of organic look to it. If I try to plan it too much, you end up making something that looks
too
planned. Yeah.
Your guts aren't planned.
Right. And the same thing when I draw like trees. You have to be very careful when you're freehanding trees. If you're not looking at a real tree, you'll tend to start reproducing the same patterns and shapes over and over again.
Right.
And it'll start to look like a man-made tree or a fractal tree that, and that doesn't really work out that well. But
they are the only reason I don't read all of the compliments is because then Alan would be embarrassed.
Well, I appreciate anything anybody says all the time. So
and then you do go back and read them all.
I do. I'll go back and actually watch the video and try to. And if there's like a question that didn't get answered, sometimes I'll be able to pick it out. But it's always better if we don't answer your question, just to email it to us. And we do get a lot of questions now. It's gotten more and more lately.
Yeah, you can't find some of the basic stuff is on the frequently asked questions part of the website.
But we try to get around to the questions that everybody asks them. But I always appreciate it when people say something nice. I mean, it's very kind. I mean, because to be honest, there's no reason why anybody. I mean, to get anybody's attention in the world is it's sort of like it's a lucky thing to have, because there's so many things that need to be focused on or that people are doing. That I mean, a lot of people that I've talked to in the not too distant past have kind of bemoaned the fact that, well, nobody's giving me what I want for what I do. And I'm like, well, you have to find the people that specifically are going to feel for what you do. And it's kind of remarkable that anybody ever sees anything that other people, I mean, it's different even nowadays. I'm not sure if it's easier or harder. It seems easier in a lot of ways because you're online and people have more access, and you get people from all over the world, but it's also harder because there's so many more people to look at. Just having people to take the time to say something kind, it's has a value of its own that is not it can't really be equated to money. And I've never been one to really be compelled to do artwork based on money anyway. To my wife's chagrin, and it's always. I mean, we do okay with it now, but before when we just we still had to do other jobs and things, it still wasn't something that I could really bring into the work that I did. The only thing I ever made the exception for, though, was I guess I learned how to do it when I was doing concept work, because that's you're doing something that's very specifically for somebody else, and you're not really allowed to go in every direction you want to. Usually you have to kind of compromise with a lot of things.
You did other contract work and everything and work.
Yeah, I mean, I do like stuff like the magic.
Talking about for your own work.
Yeah, for my own work, I can't sit here and go, oh, I'm going to do this piece because I know this kind of thing is going to sell.
That's never worked.
That has never worked out for me.
Never worked out for us.
Which is not the same thing as doing a piece because somebody's contracted you to do it and they have a brief and they want you to do a specific thing, that's different. It's only when I'm working on my own stuff that I sort of like, I don't let, how much is going to sell for, or if it's going to sell, enter into it.
At all, yeah.
Not really. Yeah. So, but I'm not going to tell you that's a great business practice.
No,
I mean, there are people that can.
No, that's all right.
There are people that can do it to success. I just was never one of them that could like predict what people want to buy and do that. I just lost interest in it.
Which is harder to do?
It depends. Most of the time, contract work is much harder to do for me than my own work, just because of having to restrain myself. And very often, my psychological response to doing contract work is that I have like a dozen ideas pop into my head of my own work that I want to do right then. And I usually that's when I usually will sketch out these more elaborate sketches.
Post-it notes came from.
And why I have drawers full of stuff that I want to do over here, and so I'll let myself sketch it out. I just won't let myself go too far with it until I get done with the contract stuff.
What someone asked if you believe in aliens.
I believe in the possibility of a lot of things.
What was that line from the movie?
Well, if there's no one else, it's a waste of space.
Contact.
Yeah. I believe statistically that it's kind of impossible that there isn't life somewhere else. So I guess you would say then I sort of do believe it. I believe in aliens. I just don't know that we've ever really seen them or not. I don't know about that. I've not been in a situation where I've seen a UFO or an alien of any kind, other than the things that pop into my own head. I guess you could say that I believe in it because I really do hope it's true. Yes. But I think that statistics would back it up. I think a lot of times, though, a lot of the things that we do believe in is just we're just open to the hope that it's true. Just like some people. Well, you could put that pretty much on anything. Most people believe is that it does, whether it's true or not. It shows a hope that it's true in some way.
Is there a unifying symmetry on one side or the other, or one depth or another, that helps you to identify the light source and variation in form?
For something like this, as you can see, it's kind of just I'm rendering it volumetrically in a way. There's not a specific angular light that you could get a hold of. I do have a vague light that's coming from above. That's why you see like a core shadow. And I think in terms of generally when I'm just drawing something for myself, and even this is a good illustration, it's a vague kind of general light from above. But that being said, if I want there to be specific light sources on things and want it to be believable, I would figure out a way to mock this up in a way. I could think through a lot of it because I know kind of what light does on forms, and that comes from obviously doing a lot of drawing and value studies and drawing studies of things. But if you really want to get it, you either get a person to stand in this kind of pose and light them, or you make a maquette. Like I have things that I have around the house, like that are like, I don't know, this is like a skeleton from Anatomy Tools, and it's standing in front of a model that's based on a painting, digital painting that I did for the Book of Angels. And I'll have things like that around that I, if I really want an accurate light, I'll look at that, These are some sculpts by Dominique Queck, if you've ever seen his work. And I have a lot of bones and things. And I'll even sometimes make a sculpt out of one of my kneaded erasers briefly. A lot of people do that. You just make a shape and then hold it under the light to see what it does. Like for this one in particular, you got that core shadow and bounce back and direct light and all that, So yeah, anything that you can help inform you, or I'll also make digital models. You can take like those posing programs and you can light a generic shape and then map the light onto your drawing. Like if I did, like that. If I did this, I could actually take one of those. Poser's the one. Daz 3D has one that's free, which you can just pose a figure, throw a light on it, and go, okay, that's generally what the light's going to look like. So if you want realistic lighting, you can get about 80% of the way with something like that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
So, and I'm pretty sure Daz 3D is free, and they actually might even come with some free figures that you could play with. I know guys like the artist Peter Grick, who does a lot of environments. He will actually build a virtual environment and light it, and then go through it and he'll use that same virtual environment and do different things to it and end up creating reference for actual physical paintings. He spends a lot of time doing it, though. It's the same thing as when an artist makes a maquette or makes a sculpt for a portrait. It's just that we have the ability now to do a lot of that digitally instead of in the. I actually think that's the value for my work is when I do a digital maquette for a traditional drawing. I don't use it like I actually for the. I can't show you, but for the magic card that I'm doing, there's a creature involved in it, and I'm actually built parts of it digitally so I could see what it would look like. I could fake it, but this is what stuff looks like when I fake it. Like, so, because I'm making up things based on, like, this has got a lot of things in it, patterns and shapes that I've used before. And I did actually take a photo of myself in this pose, but I can't show you that because it would be inappropriate. But will often look at photographs to inform what I'm doing, just to give it an edge over just being made up out of my head.
Right.
It's very rare to find things that are completely made up that have an element of realism to it.
Right.
And if you can do that, that's great. But it's not really something that's entirely necessary if you've got something that you can look at for reference. Okay. Don't be afraid of reference, is what I'm saying.
No, always you like reference. We're gonna start wrapping it up because it's 10:02, even though we started a little late.
Well, we had a 5-minute period in there where we had to go.
Yes, and
so okay, I don't know if you can see this. This is a good example that Nikolai Samori, I think his name is. There's these beautiful paintings, but all of his paintings are based on these sculpts that he makes. Not all of them, I guess, but a lot of them have these sculpts individually are in these paintings. So he'll sculpt vaguely. These are not like super fine or finished, but he'll sculpt these vague shapes and then use them as reference in the painting for actual realistic lighting.
His paintings are gorgeous.
They are. Sorry. So, but that's a good guy to look at. Nicholas Samore, I think his name is. If you look up that, he's got some beautiful work, and it's very ethereal and kind of disturbing.
It's very disturbing. Yeah. I know, but I like it.
But yeah.
We will go live again. We're going to go live again a little bit next week, but it won't be for drawing and stuff because we're going to be at LuxCon if you're in the Northeast. It's in Reading, PA, not far from New York City and Philadelphia.
I thought it was Reading, PA, and it was the book center of the world.
No, it's Reading.
Oh. No? Okay.
It's Reading. We will be in the DoubleTree.
I think they missed an opportunity there, by the way.
Well, I'm not saying anything.
Yeah, but yeah, we'll probably show up just for a brief bit and pan around the room a little bit.
Yes, say hello to people and everything like that.
Give you an idea of
we're only there for the showcase for the 2 nights, so we do have to work and everything. Thank you, Hilton DoubleTree in Reading, PA. We will be there. Our website is the website is alanwilliamsstudio.com, and I've got some of the newer pieces on there that have prints. And our YouTube channel is also youtube.com/AlanWilliamsStudio. Our Facebook page is just Alan Williams Art, and our Patreon is patreon.com/Alan Williams. Now they're talking about all the warm cookies at the DoubleTree.
Oh yeah? That's cool.
Yeah, we gotta stop.
Yeah.
All right, we will see you guys there. Yes, everybody that will be there. Yay! Yay! I'm flying in Friday morning.
I'll be driving in, so...
He's driving in, I'm flying in, then I'll drive back with him.
Yeah.
So we will see you guys there, and I suppose since it's 10 o'clock here, I should go put the child down.
I know, I heard a new Doctor Who startup.
I know. We got sucked into Doctor Who. We're Saturday nights with Doctor Who.
Pretty much.
You know. All right, you guys have a good week. And if we do a Twitch before Alan leaves, if we do a Twitch stream, we will post it under the story so you can jump over there and see. Our Twitch channel is I_JustDraw, just like over here on Instagram. I will talk to you guys later, and we'll see you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for all the compliments. It's very nice. Thank you.